Hello, and welcome to the Hawaii Health Data Warehouse's Coffee Break monthly webinar series. I'm Julia Chosey, a public health epidemiologist with the Hawaii Health Data Warehouse, or HHDW. Today, we're going to be exploring the latest birth record data collected as part of the National Vital Statistics System. I thought it might be good to give just a little bit of history first. So, there are records of birth and death data collection all the way back to the start of the United States. However, it took some time to build an official system for collecting vital statistics. Here are a few milestones in that process. In 1902, the US Census Bureau was authorized to obtain death data for the residents of the country. And then the National Birth Registration System was established in 1915. And by 1933, all states were registering live births and deaths. In 1960, the National Center for Health Statistics was established to oversee the National Vital Statistics System. Now the NCHS is part of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In Hawaii, birth records are managed by the Office of Health Status Monitoring and the Hawaii State Department of Health. Birth record data is extracted from birth certificates, which are completed for each live birth in the state. These certificates are usually completed by the parents and the attending medical professional. Information is collected about the birth, the baby, and the parents. It's important to note that for babies that are adopted at birth, the data collected is about the adopted mother, not the birth mother. HHDW houses birth record data for the state from 2000 to 2023. It should be noted that the certificate of live birth underwent changes in 2014, and as a result, some indicators are not comparable before or after this year. The CDC has established suppression criteria for reporting birth data, and HHDW follows those guidelines. Specifically, cells with counts between 1 and 9 are suppressed for confidentiality, and rates based on cells with a count less than 20 are suppressed for statistical reliability. Also, if you're interested in obtaining record-level birth data for the state, we can help you through this process. I'll show you where to go on the website during the demo. As we'll see when we go to the live site, there are 3 types of birth queries available in HHDW. First, there are counts and percentages. Second, there are population rates. And third, there are population rates by Department of Health, race, ethnicity. And we'll discuss the differences between these types of queries next. Starting with the counts and percentages, you can query counts or number of births by a variety of dimensions we'll review. The percent queries include information on infant birth weight, so specifically the percent of infants born with a low or very low birth weight. And you can also explore the data by when and if prenatal care was initiated by the mother. And last, you can look at births by gestational age to see what percentage of infants were born preterm or early preterm. For the counts and percentages queries, you can look at the data by a variety of dimensions. For geography, you can choose to look at all births in Hawaii or only those births to residents of the state. There are different levels of geography available depending on which you choose. So for births to residents of Hawaii, you can explore more granular geography down to the primary care service area. You can also query the data by year, of course, both individual years and custom aggregates of multiple years. And there's also some characteristics of the mother and father available, including age and race ethnicity. In addition, with the birth counts and percentages, there are several dimensions available for the infant characteristics. These include sex, race ethnicity, birth weight, gestational age, and plurality, which is whether or not it was a single or multiple birth. You can also explore the data by prenatal care received by the mother. HHDW provides 3 different birth rate measures for the population and for the population by DOH race ethnicity. The first is the crude birth rate, which is the number of births per 1,000 population. Next is the fertility rate, which captures the number of births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44 years. And last is the teen birth rate, which is the number of births per girls aged 15 to 19 years. We'll look at the difference between population rates and population rates by DOH race ethnicity in a minute. In HHDW, birth rate data can be explored by geography, year, and age or race ethnicity of the mother. These dimensions are more limited than for the counts and percentages because these are rates, so they require a denominator that estimates population size and composition. There's some things to remember when exploring the birth rate data in HHTW. First, the numerator includes births to resident women only. So births to women who reside elsewhere that happen in Hawaii are not included in the count. Here's where we see the difference between population rates and population rates by DOH race ethnicity. For population rates, the denominator is based on population estimates from the US Census. These include estimates for the population by age and sex. For the DOH race ethnicity rates, the denominator is based on a special 5-year aggregate that's created for HHTW by the census using the Office of Health Status Monitoring race ethnicity algorithm. We obtained these special aggregates beginning in 2010, so birth rates by DOH race ethnicity are available from 2010 on. This is the Office of Health Status Monitoring race ethnicity algorithm. Because the birth certificate allows up to 4 race ethnicities to be captured, there must be a set of rules in place for coding to a single race ethnicity. Here are those rules for births that list more than one race ethnicity. Essentially, if Hawaiian is listed in any of the options, then Hawaiian is coded. If a non-white race ethnicity is listed with white, the non-white option is coded. And then the last 2 rules state that if more than one non-white race ethnicity is listed, the first one is coded. And if more than one white race ethnicity is listed, the first one is coded. The categories included in the DOH race ethnicity algorithm include these 10 options. And given the diversity of the population of Hawaii, it's really important to be able to explore the data by these more granular race ethnicity options. Now let's take a look at the live site. So here we are on the HHDW homepage, and you can see right away that you can navigate quickly to our sister site, Hawaii Health Matters. And if you're familiar with the site, you can go straight to building your own report. If you're a little less familiar with the site, there are some tutorials that are available to help guide you using the site, and you can always give us an email too, and we'll do our best to help you out. We do have some news and announcements down here as well, and this is where you can sign up for our coffee break. And this orange arrow down here, whenever you see that, you can use that as a quick jump to the top of the page. So we're interested in the birth data. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's available. The first thing we're going to see is this landing page. So this has a little bit of information about how the birth data is collected. It shows you how to access state and national data on CDC Wonder. There's also a link to data release notes, which we update every year with any changes or issues that need to be taken into consideration. This year, there's actually no new information on the data release notes. So everything is the same as last year. And then below, we have the number of births per year. And this is for everybody, not including non-residents. And then below this is where we have our report request and our record level data request. So the report request link is if you're looking for something and having trouble, or if you want a specific report, send us an email and we'll do our best to help you out. The record level data request would be if you were interested in getting record level birth data for the state, and we can help you work through that process. So you could just click here to get more information about that. And then below, we also have some additional data resources. But what we're interested in is actually building a custom birth report. So here we have our health indicator selection page, and we've got, again, a little bit of information about the birth data. This goes to our data release notes, and this will go to our most recent birth record coffee break webinar. So once this video is edited, it will be linked here. And then you can see that we have our 3 types of queries: our counts and percentages, our population rates, and our population rates by DOH race ethnicity. Let's take a look at counts first. And also, if you hover over these question marks over here, it will give you additional information about each option. But let's look at counts. So this is our query result page. And the default query shows you the number of births for the state, and this is infant birth location, so this is for everybody, for the 3 most recent years of data. So we have 2021, 22, and 23. And there's a chart that shows these numbers. You can hover over it to get the data. There's also a data table that gives you those numbers. and this can be exported to Excel. Below this is just a way to quickly navigate within the site. If you were looking to explore a different data set or a different health topic, you could easily quickly navigate to those sections from here. Below that are the technical notes. So this gives a little information about birth location, suppression of estimates. We also have a suggested citation here. So if you were interested in using any of this data for your report or anything, you could use this as our suggested citation. And then this talks about the changes that happened to that birth certificate in 2014. So we'll go back up to the top of the page. For those of you that are familiar with the site, you know that the power in this comes from being able to modify the query. So let's take a look. This is our query builder page. And it looks like a lot of steps, but don't be overwhelmed. The first 6 steps are filters. So this is where you could limit the data. For example, if you only wanted to look at 2023, you could click here. If you were only interested in a particular race, ethnicity of the mother, you could choose that here. There's also the infant characteristics, as I mentioned, the sex, race, ethnicity, plurality, and there's some prenatal care characteristics as well. So these first 6 steps allow you to filter the data to the population that you're specifically interested in. If you want to see the whole population, but you want to see it by one of these dimensions, then all you need to do is look at step 7. This is how you tell the system to show you the data. So for example, let's look at birth counts by mother's age group. So we'll click that, we'll hit submit. And now what we're seeing are the number of births by mother's age group. We can see a fairly standard bell-shaped curve where most of our births are coming from our 30 to 34-year-olds. Again, there's a data table that can be exported if you would like. This was just one option, one dimension. If you look, there's a lot of different options. So again, we could look at, say, infant sex. This will be the number of live births for 2021, 22, and 23 by sex. And we can see that there actually were more male babies born than females, not significantly, but some. So this is the way the birth count query works. And you are able to actually look at more than one dimension at a time. I'm going to go ahead and look at one of the percentage options. So we'll look at prenatal care, and we'll look at the percent who initiated prenatal care in the first trimester. So again, what we can see here is this is for the birth location for state for 2021, 22, and 23. And this is the percent of births by prenatal care initiated in the first trimester. And you can see that it is lower in 2023. You can see that because the error bars do not overlap with 2022 and 2021. And you could confirm that with the data in the table. So this suggests that that rate of women initiating prenatal care in the first trimester decreased in 2023. Now, here we can also look and modify this query. So say we were interested in birth weight. So here we will look at birth weight by prenatal care initiated in the first trimester, and we can see that there's definitely a relationship. This is why prenatal care is so important. For those who initiated in the first trimester, they're more likely to have a normal or high weight baby. Let's take a look now at some of the rates. So we'll start with our population rates, and we'll just look at the crude rate. So this is the birth per 1,000 population. And again, we're going to see the data for the 3 most recent years of data. And again, we have the table, but we can also modify this query. So let's say we were interested here in looking at geography. So here, because again, the rates only are offered at state and county level, but we might be interested in the crude birth rate by county. So we will go select county, and by default, all the counties will be shown. I'm going to just look at 2023, although we could look at any combination of years. And then here, when I'm telling the system what I want to see it by geographic area. So now we can see the crude birth rate by county. And again, this is just for 2023. And if you look in the data table, whenever you see these three little dots, it means that you can manipulate the data a little. So in a case like this, it might be good to sort the data so that you can see exactly who has the lowest and who has the highest crude birth rate. And again, you've got the data table here, and also you get a map, which is a nice addition when you're looking at the county level geography. So this shows a ranking of the crude birth rate, with the highest rate being the darkest. Let's take a look at another rate. This time, let's look at population rates by DOH race ethnicity only. So we'll look at the fertility rate in this case. And what we'll see here is, again, the data for the 3 most recent years of data collection. And now we're going to see the data by that DOH classification of race ethnicity. So again, this might be a good place to sort this data so that you can quickly see the differences in fertility rate. And here we can see that the highest is among other Pacific Islanders, and the lowest is that other catch-all category. And here too, if you were interested in modifying the query, you could look at it by geography, you could change the time period, and you could also look at it by the mother's age group. Let's look at it by geography real quickly. It's still going to show us the race ethnicity, but now it will also show us the data by county. Say you were really interested in Hawaii County, or you wanted a clearer picture of what's going on in Hawaii County, you can click on these down here in the legend and switch them off. So now we only see the data for Hawaii County. So that's one of the nice little functionalities of the system. Now, let's give you time for a little activity. This is some hands-on work. So take a few minutes to explore the 2023 birth record data in HHDW and answer these questions. Let's take a look at these activity responses. The first question asks, how has the number of births in Hawaii changed since the year 2000? So we are interested in counts. We're going to go to our count query. And the question is asking how it has changed since 2000. So we're going to go ahead and select all of the years. Now when we submit, it's going to show us all of those years of data. And you can see here that the number of live births in the state is actually decreasing. And 2023 was the lowest number since 2000. So we can see that trend in the birth data. The second question was, which county had the lowest fertility rate among resident women aged 15 to 44 years in 2023? So we know we want to go to our fertility rate data. This we're going to want to modify, and it is asking us which county had the lowest fertility rate in 2023. So we're going to change our time period to just 2023. And we're going to change our geography to county. And then we need to tell the system that we want to see it by geography. So here you can see that Maui County had the lowest fertility rate in 2023. Again, we could sort it, or if we need to, it looks like it's already in order, just coincidentally. Okay, the last question asks, using the DOH race ethnicity, which group had the highest teen birth rate among females aged 15 to 19 from 2018 to 2023? So let's go back to our indicator selection page, and we're going to go down to our population rates by DOH race ethnicity, and we're interested in the teen birth rate. What you'll notice here, when this is showing us the 3 most recent years of data, there's a lot of data that's suppressed, and that's because the cell counts were too small. But this question is actually asking for the rate between 2018 and 2023. So one way that you can work with when you see suppressed data is to add years to your query. That increases the sample size and makes it more likely that you'll be able to get actual rates. And you can see that we do now for everything but other Asian. So here we can see that the highest rate is to other Pacific Islander girls at a rate of 49.6. Here are the answers for the video. Join us next month in February. Our next coffee break will be on February 4th at 11 o'clock, and we'll be discussing the death data. So the 2023 death data is also available in hhtw.org.